Gauteng Premier David Makhura's comments about foreign nationals have caused outrage. He wants them to start paying for healthcare services and has blamed some of them for crime. Our reporter Khumalo has been out and about getting the political reaction to this ever-growing storm. And Kaya, Makhura's political home, the ANC, wasting no time in responding. What are they saying?
Well, in essence, Tembekile, they are saying he's amplifying what is the party's resolution from the 54th conference in Nasrec. So they really do admit that the country's healthcare system is overburdened. So there must be a legislation that must be initiated. So this legislation must be in line with all the international conventions, the protocols, to make sure that we're not contravening the constitutional obligations of making sure that the foreign nationals are protected here.
What is the ANC's view then on those who've raised concern that Makhura's comments feed a wider xenophobic sentiment, as has been the criticism of the Joburg Mayor Herman Mashaba in the past?
So the ANC has been adamant in saying, look, South Africa does have its own liberal policies when it comes to migration. For example, we don't have refugee camps. So if you come here in South Africa, you're automatically absorbed into the population. So they're just citing such examples. But also, they go as far as saying that if a South African national, for example, is going to Gaborone, to Botswana, you would cough up a certain amount of money. But also the practicality around this particular legislation. A lot of critics are saying, so for example, if you say you have a lot of Zimbabwean nationals here, so how are you going to go to Harare, for example, and say, this is your bill? The country's bankrupt, so they have a lot of economical challenges. So there are a lot of practical implications here.
And let's speak then to those opposed who were actually quite offended by what the Gauteng Premier said this week. What are the likes of the NGOs and rights organizations saying now that even the ANC is coming out to say, in fact, what David Makhura said is nothing untoward, it's in line with party policy?
So just a short while ago, Tembekile, we spoke to an NGO that is right at the forefront when it comes to the right of migrants. That's the Consortium for Refugees and Migrants. So they were saying, look, it's very hypocritical of Gauteng to have such a proposal, given the fact that this is a province of migrants. So for the longest time, the province has always been anchored by the migrants in terms of its economic standing, as it were. But also they go as far as saying, in terms of the constitutionality of this particular proposal, once it becomes the actual law, it won't really pass the muster.
But are the NGOs, Khailiche, understanding of the position of government and by extension the ANC, that what's going on here is that we're dealing with a situation where you have a South African government that isn't wealthy enough to be able to give free services to all? The government is saying hospitals are overburdened. Money needs to come from somewhere. Are they appreciative of that position?
I think they understand the gravity of the situation at hand, but they're just saying we should be very cautious how we play around or how we try to address this particular issue, given the fact that we have a history, a very dark history as South Africa, and we've seen in 2008 or so those attacks erupting. So if you have such sentiments being expressed constantly, it sort of really just takes us back, and also it goes back to the country itself in terms of the history that we have. So they also, touch a bit on those issues as well, but also more importantly to the fact that we have signed a number of conventions, so we should really respect the obligations that are really saying, South Africa, you have such an obligation. So
let me
there's
ask
no
you this then, Khailiche, very quickly. Do we expect any sort of meeting then between these two sides?
Well, we certainly do expect a lot of consultations to happen between South Africa, even some of the neighboring countries, so that they can try to thresh out what could be a compromise, as it were, something that could work for all sides.
ANC reporter Khumalo, thank you.